And now in this moment, I invite everyone just to take a nice deep breath in, inviting all the love within you. And as you release the breath, release anything and everything that no longer serves you. Just let it go for now. And if you feel so inclined, go ahead and take another nice, deep, cleansing breath, breathing in all the love and light around you. And as you release this breath, allow your body to just relax in this moment. And allow your mind to be here now. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one, and all is well. As we begin this inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourself to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your hand, and let my words act as your own for your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. I acknowledge. Acknowledging the higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of this infinite presence, I simply speak these words. I surrender. Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all of my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive. I forgive. Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only positive, constructive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose. I now center upon that one special idea that I'm willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. Visualizing that idea as already acted upon and brought to pass. In seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and piece of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words. I accept. Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release. Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This can be a friend, a family member, a teacher or mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who may not be physically present in the room with me this morning. I turn toward that image in my mind's eye and say, I'm grateful for the good in your life. I'm grateful for the good in your life. Now I open my eyes, turn to the world around me, and joyfully speak to anyone physically present in the room or virtually on this broadcast, and share in confidence and gratitude in saying, I'm grateful for the good in your lives.
I want to thank you all for being here this morning. And I want you to recognize that not every faith community, I don't know why, but not every faith community thanks people for being there. It's like if you're not here, it's a sin or something. But, thank you for being here. You could be anywhere. And those of you watching at home, thank you for spending your Sunday mornings with us, or whenever in the week you happen to be watching this, because it does get viewed all week. For those of you who are not in the Houston area, it's extremely hot here right now. And for us to say it's extremely hot tells you just how extremely hot it is. So if you are in the Houston area, stay hydrated, take good care of yourself. Okay. I am not an LGBTQ plus person myself. I am not a father. I am not an African American. So I am the last person you want to give a talk today that touches on Pride Month and Father's Day and Juneteenth. I am, however, but yet here we are. I am, however, an ally. I am the child of a father. And I am an ally, and I have been a Texas resident for a very long time. So I forge ahead with this. The theme that unites all of this, to me, is interdependence within independence. Interdependence within independence. I am a New Thought metaphysician. You are in a New Thought center today. This is a New Thought message. In the New Thought way of seeing things, everybody belongs. The reason everybody belongs is not just because we're kind and open-hearted and open-minded sort of people, but it's hand in hand with our theology that there is one life. That's all. There's one life. Therefore, you're in it. Therefore, everybody's in it, including all the people who don't know they're in it. There's one life, and it is expressing through each one of us easily and naturally and equally through every person. Now, I may have judgments, and you may have judgments about who's more equal than others, but that's not the story that's coming down from above. That's the story that's coming up from within to be healed. That's our own issues. That's our own background and stuff. And there's a lot of hate in the culture right now, and there's a lot of outrage being ginned up about these people and those people, and you got to watch yourself. And frankly, I'm more concerned around people who hate and judge than I am around anybody else. And then I go to where I go in consciousness to be reminded of something. Because not only is this Pride Month, and today Father's Day, and tomorrow Juneteenth, but Wednesday is the Summer Solstice. And that, to me, is a wonderful uniting message, because whoever we're talking about, they all stand under the same sun. We all live under the same sky. We all have one divine parent, if you will. One divine source. And I look forward to the time, and you know, people often say, well, this may not happen in my lifetime. I want it to happen in mine. I'm not ready to hand off the baton yet and say, well, you know, 100 years from now, maybe think. No, in my lifetime, I want people to get along and tell the truth to each other and be kind. In my lifetime, I want that to happen. So I'm not here to yell at you about you should be more this or less that or something else or how you vote or whatever. What I am here to tell you is the New Thought message is real clear on this. I had some pushback over the last few years over, we've, you know, the center has become kind of politically correct now because no, listen, I've been here every day this center's been here. I've been here every day since we sat at a kitchen table in somebody's home in the fall of 1983. This center has been inclusive and accepting and open the whole time. Not because I'm a paragon of virtue, but because go through the books, go through the New Thought literature. Wherein does it say these folks don't matter? Wherein does it? No. So, I mean, if you're going to be true to the teaching, if you're going to be true to Ernest Holmes' vision, if you're going to be true to the visions of the New Thought founders that he pulled much of his material from and on back into the mists of time, you're going to see the same message come up. How many lives are there? One life. It's not a life for you and a life for him and a life for them. No, there's one life. There's one life. And then individuation from within that life. So this has been our message, and this has been our point all along. So I bring you all of this because this actually being planting our feet today on Father's Day, I thought I might, you know, since that's a universality for us, we might all not be fathers, but we all have them, thought I'd talk about that. And praiseworthy dads and prodigal kids. Now, the thing is, whenever there's a holiday, you got to understand, whenever there's a holiday, it's bittersweet. Doesn't matter what it is, Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever you observe, it's bittersweet. It's bittersweet because maybe some years it wasn't all that great, or maybe there's an empty chair at the table this year because somebody passed, you know? And when you come to Father's Day, it's emotionally loaded. And I think I've told you the stories, but we've tried to do experiential things around Father's Day, and it gets kind of intense. It gets kind of intense because people have different experiences to things. My generation was probably close to the last, you know, that was parented often by the, how shall I put this, the typical patriarchal model of family dynamics, where you had the father go off to work and make money, and you had the mother stay home and cook. And of course, not everybody did that, but that was sort of the model that was, it was the dominant model, and it was the model that you saw on TV. It was the model that you saw until the 70s that was put out there for you. And in that kind of a model where the father goes and earns the money and all of this, if he doesn't earn enough money, well, then the whole family suffers. If he has a job he doesn't like, the whole family suffers. If he has to drink to excess to compensate for going to the work he doesn't like or other unhappiness in his soul, then the whole family suffers. If the father struggles, is how it was, if the father's struggling, if you have an unhealthy father, you have an unhealthy childhood. And so a lot of people, when a day like this comes, you know, they don't know what to make of it. So what I like to do is both honor the fact that you're sitting in your feelings today around this, how you felt about your father. He could have been a champion, man. He could have been the greatest guy ever. Maybe he's gone now, and you have the memories. And maybe he wasn't, and maybe he came and went, and of course we can say the same of all of our family members. But here's the thing. There's a divine energy that wants to father you, wants to put its arm around you, wants to take you fishing if you like to fish, you know, take you, you know, places and show you things and show you the world. And you know what else it does that fathers are noted for doing? It over-explains things. Right? Mansplains. Yeah. Because, you know, fathers are like, well, now that's a sunset, and how that's created is by the filtration of sunlight through the filth in the air that rises from it. And you're like, too much information. It was the sunset. It's a beautiful ending of the day. It's a thing of poetry and art. I really don't need to know the science behind it, but that's kind of what fathers are known for, is they'll explain to you how this is, and they'll say stuff. You realize I'm generalizing, and I'm making some of this up on the spot too, but it's like a father will say, well, you can have a car to drive when you know how to change your own oil. And it's like, why? There are people on every corner who for like $20 will change my oil. You know, I'd much rather, well, no, because you could be out in the middle of the desert and need your oil changed. And you're like, that's never going to happen, but you know, I will see to it that never happens. So, you know, they over-explain things, and they have all of this, and so does Spirit. Spirit over-explains things. Why? Because it's got infinite intelligence to it. You don't think it over-explains things? Maybe that's not right the way to put it, but here, ask it what you ought to do next, and you won't get one answer. Okay? You'll get an encyclopedia. Ask it, show me who I really am. And the learning never ends. It is a waterfall of awareness that comes to us from Spirit. But Spirit is there for us. It's like the sunlight overhead. It's this thing, even when the earth is turned away from it, even when the clouds obscure it, you know, it's the sunlight that's beating down on us. It's telling us, you are my beloved child in whom I am well represented. You, right there, you. And we kind of, aw shucks, and we pivot and duck and all this, but it's you are my beloved child. And as I was getting into last week, sometimes we think, well, I'll be its perfect child when I've taken the next class, right? When I've finished my next journaling exercise, when I've done enough yoga, and whoa, the lights just came on. And thank you for that. I don't know what it means, but you see what I mean? More information. And this is something else we do with the information that comes. It's like everything's a symbol. Somebody tells us that one time, and now everything is like multidimensional, which is great, except when you need it quick. You know, when you're kind of moving through your life and everything is a lesson and a message and a whole big life-changing event. Well, you know, as I got into, like I said last week, sometimes we think, well, I'll be grateful when I'm enough for Spirit to be proud of me. That ship has sailed. That day came long ago. You, right now, just the way you are beautiful and important and unique in its eyes. Just the way you are. Just the way you are. So I found this statistic. You like statistics? They're kind of a Father's Day sort of thing. Joe DiMaggio's batting average in 1936 with Now, I think you'll like this one. You have, this is me searching my memory. You have 2 parents, yes? 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 what they call second great-grandparents. I thought every time you went back another generation of grandparents, you added the word great, because I'm kind of dumb that way. So I thought, like, these are my great, 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 great. No, it's second and third and so on. And each time the number doubles. This is not a tally of all your relatives. These are just what they call your progenitors, the people whose DNA runs through you, whose blood is in your veins, and so on. You go back 12 generations, you've got 4,084 of these people. 12 generations is around 400 years. Let's think about that a moment. Let's go back 400 years, and obviously the further back you go, the more the number increases until you have millions of these people, back to the dawn of time and the, time our species first arose. But 400 years is a number we can work with. 12 generations of people, 4,084 of them, and they all love you. And they all love you. And they're all proud of you right now. They're all proud of what you've done with your life. And they're excited about what you're going to do with your life. They're excited about where you're going to take things. 400 years ago, 12 generations back, Galileo was getting in trouble with the church. Shakespeare just published his first folio. Rembrandt was painting. And it was 4 years after enslaved people were brought to this continent in ships. 400 years ago. And over that period of time, what have we learned and how have we grown? But these people love you, and they love you from beyond the veil. Most of them, unless you're fortunate enough to have parents and grandparents still walking this earth. Maybe even great-grandparents. These people love you. They also trust you. They're giving you advice now and then. You may hear it in the form of their voices, but more likely it's going to turn up in a book you're reading or come kind of out of the radio or, some other sort of way. But they're guiding you and they're shepherding you, but they're not controlling you and they're not manipulating you. So they don't have the power to do that. And the fact is they didn't even have that power when they were here, unless we sort of gave it to them. I want you to know this, and I want you to feel the presence of these people, because the ancestors are vital. And see, we talk about the ancestors a lot, and we just use that word and kind of move on. Well, the ancestors this and the ancestors that. The ancestors are represented. You're representing them now. They've pushed you out on the stage, sort of, or life has, by virtue of the way we're built. And it's pushed you out on the stage, and it says you are now the incarnation of the meaning of life for your progenitors, and thereby for your species and for every subset of your species that you represent. You are the voice right now. You are that. Tattavamasi, they say in Sanskrit or Hindi. But you are that. You are that. Know you're loved. Know you're loved. And if you're fortunate enough to be a father, and you ever wonder how to do that, people joke, well, there's no manual when you have kids, and I wish somebody told me this and this. And of course, there's all sorts of there's information abounding in the literature of healthy parenting skills and stuff. But I think the best thing to do, not the only thing to do, but the best thing to do, and certainly the first thing to do, is to go to the source of us all. Say, so how do I do this? How do I hold on while letting go? How do I manage without controlling? How do I show my care without being overbearing? And being the kind, because I don't want to be the kind of father who lives in my kid's head for the rest of their life, where dad wouldn't like this. None of us should have to carry that around. You shake that off. And you do what you do. And you stand in your truth, and you do the best you can. And you do the best you can. That's what it all means to me. So, as we celebrate Pride Month, we celebrate love. We celebrate love. What is greater than love? What one word do you find more often than that in all the sacred writings of antiquity? Maybe God, but then they'll tell you God is love. So it's all about love, and it's all about freedom, and it's all about equality. And why is it so hard to grant each other equality? Why is it so hard to let each other have the right to breathe the same air? I do not understand this. I don't want to be honest with you, I don't want to understand it, because if I understand it, I go down the same rabbit hole of logic or twisted logic, corrupted logic that gets us to that place. I want to go the other direction and just kind of, if I don't understand something, if it repels me, if I find it abhorrent, I want to go to spirit. For a good mental and emotional cleanse, you know, go to spirit. Say, so show me who I am. Show me who I am, so that I might better serve and might better be a friend and a companion and an ally to all around. And as we observe Father's Day, it's not a gender-specific role. It's not even a familial role as an isolated thing. We're all fathering each other. We're all mothering each other. We're all aunting and uncling and cousining each other too. You know, it's all part right. And you do both in the same or all of them in the same sentence sometimes. You do all of them in the same afternoon sometimes. This is how it all, you know, we don't really know which channel we're coming in on. Sometimes, just as they'll say, sometimes you teach, sometimes you learn. These are not formal exercises, formal assignments. We do all of these things. And then when it comes to Juneteenth, which as of 2 years ago is a national holiday now, and there's some bittersweet energy around that, because it was a Texas thing and a thing in the South. It was a holiday and celebration in the South, and now it's being merchandised, you know, heavily. But it's a recognition of many things, one of which is that you're only as free as you know you are. Because it was 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation that General Granger brought the word to Galveston. For 2 years, these slaves were free and didn't know it, because the story had been held back from them for pretty obvious reasons. Now you got to pay these folks. Now they're employees, you know. And what I can do with that in my life is realize how free I am, and use that freedom in a healthy kind of way. Use it to speak my voice to liberate the oppressed as best I can. To notice the nuances of story that occur in people's lives. Notice the damage that sometimes we do to ourselves through our emotional management of experience. And how it is that money and the love of money can be the root of all human evil. It absolutely can be. Because what caused enslaved people to be enslaved 400 years ago and to this day across the world? But the worship of money. Look it up. What else is it? It's not just mean-spiritedness. There's got to be a profit in it. So I go back to the source of my own being and I say, what do I need to know about this? What do I need to know about ambition? What do I need to know about, you know, how I manage my own affairs in life? I was coming here this morning and there was I actually followed Roy. Roy knows who he is, which is a good thing. But between Roy and me was a little 4-cylinder car, older model 4-cylinder car with an enormous spoiler on the trunk. And I thought, that car has ambition. It says, I'm going to grow up and I'm going to be somebody, as it went by. Wee, nee, 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 nee. So I look at ambition, you know, I look at this and I say, there's got to be heart in it. It's got to be merciful. It's got to be just. It's got to be just. We must have justice. And I guess finally this. I wanted to put in a plug here real quick about what's going on Sundays, and I know Danielle will do this too, but since the announcements get edited out of some versions of this, I want to tell you, next Sunday, Reverend David Dewhurst is speaking, and you are in for a treat. The following Sunday, which will be July 2nd, I'm back for 4 consecutive Sundays based on Emerson's essays, which I'm really looking forward to, and I hope you are too. And if you're like, yeah, that sounds kind of dull, no, it isn't. It's great. It's wonderful, written enlightening. You're going to love it. That's the first 4 Sundays in July. The 5th Sunday in July, our dear friend and brother, Reverend Arthur Johnson, joins us again on July 30th. I love it when that murmur goes up. Yeah. So, and more to come down the road, but I wanted to tell you that. So in 2 weeks when I'm back, we start getting into Emerson. But, you know, I just wanted to close with the idea of this. So we have all these ancestors, and they all love us, and we're all doing the best we can, and so on. Pay attention. That's it. Just pay attention. Pay attention to the world. Pay attention to how you feel about the world. People will come and say, "Oh, it's this. You must be feeling that. You know, it's a holiday. It's a celebration. It's a something." And conversely, people will come to you and they'll say, "This is a very sad time. You must be miserable." You know. Reminds me of one time a woman came up. I was giving a talk around just before Christmas, and a woman came up and said, "You know, we always want to get to the light. Oh, it's the light of this, and it's the lights of Hanukkah and the lights of Christmas, and it's the return of the light because we passed the solstice." She says, "I think we should spend more time in the dark." And what she meant was, and she knows who she is, but what she meant was spend time in the grief, spend time in the pain, spend time in the recognition. There will be a group of people tomorrow on the beaches in Galveston, very early in the morning, before the tourists come out for a swim, performing ceremonial ritual, recognizing their beloveds who came through the slave port of Galveston, which held the largest slave auctions, the largest auctions of enslaved people west of the Mississippi. And they will be looking out to where those ships came in, and they will be blessing their ancestors, and they will be doing release work, and they'll be doing pain work and grief work and powerful work. And then they'll go and they'll eat together and they'll have a party. And I thought that is such a powerful coupling of energies, management of energies. On this Father's Day, have a great time. If he's around, take him to lunch or do whatever you typically do. But think of the fatherless, and think of the people who have suffered abuse, and think of the people that just don't know how to do it. And think of the confused fathers who are out there right now who just don't know where the next buck is coming from, who don't know where the next good idea for how to fix their relationship, fix their marriage is coming from. Where? Have a thought. Send up a thought, as they say, for the people who are struggling in some way. And for the people who love differently than you do, it's still love. If there were one kind of love, it'd be kind of a boring world. We did a series here a few years ago on the 5 different kinds of the 5 different principal terms that are used in Greek, agape and philia and storge and eros, and I forget what the 5th one was. And then as soon as the series was over, somebody said there's 6, 7, and 8, and there are probably still more, you know. all of which are different for, like the love of chocolate and the love of, you know, badminton or whatever. You know, they're all different kinds of attachments and things that we have. It's all love. It's all beautiful. Treat to know justice and equity for our LGBTQ brothers and sisters and non-binary individuals. And treat to know that we live in a world that's come to its senses, that if it can't say something nice about somebody, shuts up. Okay? And just leave them alone. For those of us who want to be with them, who want to hang out with them and widen their circle and allyship. So let's know together now. One life, one power, one presence, pure spirit, everywhere, manifesting everywhere, radiant. It's real radiant today, so we're going to turn it down just a little. We're going to stay in the coolness with each other. We're going to know. All of this just is easily and effortlessly done. It may seem like a lot to manage sometimes about how do I love everybody and understand everybody, and am I forgetting anyone? Am I leaving anyone out? So we turn to the source that's never forgotten a soul. When we forget who we are, we ask our maker. We check our factory settings. Yes, I was made in unconditional love. Yes, a star danced, and beneath that I was born. And yes, all of this is true. None of it has changed. Nothing is lost. For this knowing and its manifestation in form, everywhere we turn, I am so deeply grateful. I release this word now into the infinite, calling it done, and so it is.
So it is. Please raise your hand. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your love and your energy and your support. Thank you for your monetary donations. We appreciate everything that you give to us. And it is because of what you give to us that we can be here and give back to you. I would like to invite everyone now to say with me, divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is.
We don't want to lock you in. So, I think those are my announcements. Yeah, there's a whole lot. I'm trying to wrap everything together to do a closing treatment. I'm like, oh, I don't know what to focus on. What the good news is I'm just going to open my mouth and start, and then we'll see what I treat for. But I do want to remind you that we do stand with all women pastors. So, Jesse put the meme up. I'm not taking credit for it. Jesse put it up. New Thought has had women pastors since 1886. And the cool thing about New Thought is, so if we're going to talk about all of the things, we've never had to change our rules to let somebody in. Yes. We've never had to change our rules to let African Americans be pastors. We've never had to change our rules to let women be pastors. We've never had to change our rules to let the LGBTQ population be pastors. We have always been inclusive. So, all right. Oh, right. The solstice is coming, and what I want to remind you is, one, it is the longest day of the year. It's the day we have the most sunlight, and it's the shortest night. It is also the transition from the maiden to the mother, which is ironic that I'm saying that on Father's Day. I'm aware of that. Okay? But it is when you change from the planting and preparing the soil to the nurturing and weeding of the soil. So whatever it is that you have planted, you are now in the tending phase. So what has been planted, make sure that you are weeding it, watering it, and pulling up those weeds. That's the energy that we are moving into. So in that knowing, I can definitely see that the mother has showed up today. I invite you into the sacred consciousness. It is always sacred all the time. But when we set aside that moment to be extremely conscious of it, that we call meditation, that we call treatment, where we close our material eyes, open our spiritual eyes, and look around and see that it is all good and that it is all God. So know with me that there is one power, one presence, one life, one love. And that love flows through each and every one of us. Each of us is a divine channel for that love to move into this world. And what does that love look like? It looks like healing our relationships with our fathers. It looks like forging new relationships with father figures. It looks like healing past relationships for the things that have been done in the past, that we do not carry that hurt forward. It looks like recognizing that love is love and embracing our fellow godlings as we walk this path. It looks like weeding our own gardens regularly and not worrying about other people's gardens unless they ask us for some weeding help. Because sometimes those weeds get out of control and we need a little backup. It looks like knowing who we are. It looks like taking a deep breath before we speak to others and ourselves, and making sure that the words that we use are humble and kind. It looks like practicing loving kindness, which recognizes the other person as a godling in and of themselves. It looks like knowing our own worth and holding firm to that. And that's a lot, but it is all possible in that energy of love. And it is so much more. So I invite you, as you move through this week, to look at all the different ways that love shows up for you. And I am grateful to know this divine love, to be this divine channel of love into this world, and to know each and every one of you as that divine channel of love. And I am grateful for a teaching that teaches me who I am. I am grateful for this community that comes together in that love. I am grateful for our ministers. I'm grateful for our practitioners. I am grateful for our musicians. I am grateful for each and every one of you. I am grateful for the technology that allows us to send this out into the far reaches of the universe. And I am grateful because grateful is another word for love. And so I relax and know that it is so, and release my word into both love and law. And so it is.
Say with me now, something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything I am.
I choose it.
I choose it.
I trust it.
I trust it.
I use it.
I use it.
And what else?
I
I love it. And so it is.
And so it is.